Hi, today we're going to be making chocolate and hazelnut buttercream, and this will go with our chocolate and hazelnut cake, so this is part 2 of that series. So this is what the finished cake looked like. I filled it with buttercream and then I covered it all over in buttercream and put some pre-bought chocolate curls on top, but I think it looks really cute and it's just a great idea for this cake. It's absolutely freezing in England at the moment. So to heat up the Nutella, I just put it in a bowl of boiling water, left it for 15 minutes, and it melted. So to make my buttercream, I've put my butter into the mixer, and then to make sure there are no lumps in my buttercream, I'm going to sift in my icing sugar. Once all of that is sifted in, I'm going to then add my cocoa, and I'm going to do the same. There does tend to be a lot of lumps in cocoa, so what I do is anything that's left in the bottom that really won't go through, I just throw it away. Don't put it into your buttercream, you'll just end up with a lump at the bottom. Now, it's completely up to taste how much of the cocoa that you put in. I only put 1 tablespoon in because I wanted to taste a lot more like hazelnut. But if you want more of a chocolatey taste and less of a hazelnut taste, then add more cocoa and less Nutella. I melted my Nutella for around about 15 minutes. As I said earlier, it's absolutely freezing in England, so there's absolutely no chance that it'll melt by itself. Now, I've just used what's left of the bottle that I've got here, but you can use as much or as little as you like. It's always worth scraping down the bottom of your bowl and just checking that everything is incorporated before removing it from this. Also, if you feel it's a little bit stiff at this point, this is when you can add a dash of milk and then you can remix it just so that it feels a little bit softer. But as you can see here, mine's perfectly soft and it's perfect for spreading, so I'm not going to add any milk. This is the cake that I'm going to be decorating. I've let it cool for about 20 minutes, but it's not completely cool. So I'll slice it and then I'll let it cool again, just so that it cools a little bit quicker. When I do this, I would only leave it for around about 10 minutes, just so it's a little bit cooler on the inside. I don't want it exposed to the air for too long, otherwise it might go a little bit hard. Now I'm using a really, really sharp bread knife to cut this. You really do need to be careful with your fingers, but on the other hand, you do need to hold it because if you start slicing through it and you don't hold the back of it, large chunks of the cake will just start to break off. And then when I fold it over, the reason I've done it like that is so that when I put it back on, it'll go on in exactly the same place that I took it off at. As you could see there, it was still a little bit warm, so I will be leaving that. And I did remember after I cut it in half that I wanted to turn this particular cake over, so I'm slicing the top off, and then I'm just going to fold it back over and let it cool for a little bit further. And then when I actually fill the cake with the buttercream, I'll flip it over, so that the side that was at the bottom of the tin, the neatest side, will be at the top, and the messy side will be at the bottom. So as you can see, I'm now ready to add the buttercream. The cake is cool to the touch, and it is important that the cake is cool to the touch before you start adding buttercream, as the butter will melt if you add it to a warm cake. So I'm using a spatula to spread this out in my particular case. If you don't have a spatula or you don't want to use a spatula, you could just use a knife or the back of a spoon, or even a bread knife for this. One of the really important things when you are adding buttercream to any cake is to make sure that you do not put crumbs back into the bowl. So if you look at your spatula and it's got any crumbs on it, just wipe it on the side and then get some fresh stuff out of the bowl. If you do this, then that will mean that you don't get crumbs ruining your buttercream effect at the finished product of the cake. If you're just putting it in the middle though, it really doesn't matter because no one will see it. So the way I do my buttercream, and not everyone does it in the same way, is I put a massive dollop on the top, and then I put a really, really thick layer on the sides. Now I'm going to end up scraping at least 50% of this off, but if you do it this way, you'll get a much, much neater finish than if you're trying to do it each little bit really, really fine. You'll end up getting lots of crumbs and you'll end up with lots of holes, and it'll take you a really, really long time. So if you do it this way, which is adding a really, really thick layer to the sides and a really thick layer on top, you'll see that this way is really, really quick and easy, and it did take me less than 5 minutes to fill and to decorate this cake. The second tip that I have, when you're doing the top of the cake so that you can get the smoothest possible finish, put your palette knife or your spoon on the top and just wiggle it backwards and forwards and try where possible not to keep taking it off the top. Taking it off the top ruins the effect. You get a much, much smoother effect if you just keep the palette knife on top and wiggle it backwards and forwards. I'm using a really large offset spatula to transfer this. I do have a cake lift. You can use a number of different things to help you get it off the board that you've used. If you're using a turntable, exactly the same thing. I just had this to hand and so I used it because it was really quick and easy. So now I've put it on the plate so that I can do the final decoration for it and I don't have to move it once it's got the chocolate curls that I'm about to add onto it. I wanted to make this cake look really cute and almost shop bought, so I decided to add some chocolate curls to this cake. So I just bought them from a shop, they came in a packet. Now you just need to add these when the buttercream is still fresh, so when it's just gone on, before it's been exposed to the air, that way they'll actually stick. Buttercream does go hard and you'll get a matte finish on it once it's dried, so just make sure you add it while it's still sticky, and that way it'll be able to hold the curls properly.